at us and they go left. And I was glancing between what was going on in front of us with these guys and then all of a sudden glancing over to what was going on behind them. And that's when I started seeing the key details of this thing. Like it had like a scale pattern on it, kind of like an octagonal, because the craft itself was like an octagonal shape where you could see points. Had a pyramid structure on top that was black, and you can see the shadowing of it as it rotated. But it was rotating very slow. And then it had like these vents on every single corner on the middle part of these the panels anyway. There was like a Vanta black. It was like a dark black that would like absorb light. Very weird.
What do you mean by that? A dark black that would absorb light?
So, if you're ever familiar with the BMW, they painted Vanta black. It was like a very super dark black. It's not like a reflective material at all.
The matte black?
Yeah, but very, 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 even darker than matte black.
Okay.
Like you can shine a light at it and it won't even illuminate.
Like the Batmobile?
Kind of. Okay. Something like that. But even, it was like very dark. The only way I can describe it was like that Vanta black.
Okay.
And
when you mean absorb light, you're saying if I shine a laser on it, you might not even see the laser.
Correct.
Or it would be very dull.
Correct.
Okay.
Something like that. So we're watching these vehicles, right? These trucks. Now, the thing I would say on the front of them, because Humvees, the military has, they have the IR lights on the front near the headlights that you can drive at nighttime with your knots. So they had the same thing because they had the same kind of slits that had the IR lights. But they had weapon cases in the back of each truck bed. And, you could store like a couple hundred weapons, maybe 100 weapons, maybe a platoon, a company-size element. And it was the same Pelican casings that we would use to store stuff when they were transloading, So very big cases on 2 of them in each truck bed. And then they had a shipping container thing. I mean, it looked like a shipping container, but smaller and half the size. And the thing that was different about this is I had a cylinder on the front of it that was towards the truck. It was like parallel to the ground, just a cylinder right on the top of this thing. And for years I thought, okay, there's got to be oxygen supply or like a vacuum sealing thing that you would, because obviously I'm thinking it's drugs. I was like, okay, so this is a very advanced way to do that, just years of thinking of this. And come to find out, when I gave my speech in D.C. on that Saturday for the Disclosure Project with Dr. Greer, he's got a lot of people coming out of the woodwork, by the way. And this gentleman, I'm not going to give any detail. I know a little bit about him. But he works in some of these projects at some very controversial facilities. He's aware of what was going on. After I gave my presentation of this, he confirmed, he says, no, he's like, I don't want to leave Michael hanging out there, but I was not expecting to come and talk to you about this. And he went explaining what the operations do, why they do it, and what they were using them for. And he says, it's not drugs that they're putting in these shipping containers. He says it's humans.
Human trafficking.
Yes. His own words. And, of course. And he also wants to come forward, at least with him and 30 other people that are involved with that part of the work. But it was very disheartening to actually get that information relayed to me, because here I'm thinking for years it's drugs and it's a much sinister thing. But it makes sense because they use natural disasters that people are going to be missing anyway.
Yeah.
Scoop up people.
I mean, I've been covering human trafficking this year.
Right.
And that's, a lot of the human trafficking comes from third world countries in distress. You're in a third world area.
Yep.
In distress, right after an earthquake would be, it's prime.
Yeah.
Prime time to do a human trafficking operation.
Right.
How big were the containers?
I would say probably 8 feet and 10 feet. 8 feet tall, 10 feet within.
So like maybe half a Connex box?
Yeah, about that.
Okay.
And they were kind of like on the trailer that was underneath was kind of like a regular Humvee trailer that you would see kind of pull stuff, something like that.
How were they being lifted into the craft?
So they were driving onto this platform that was angled, so it would hit, and it just raise up, and they were just driving on this ramp.
Oh, the truck would go up?
Yeah, but the whole thing was a ramp.
Okay.
Like a circular ramp. And, obviously I can't see what's on the other side of it. But I'm assuming because it's a circular pattern that it's going to be the same on the other side. Because they would drive onto this platform, and at that point I saw all the doors open. 4 guys would come out, and then I'd go back to what we're facing here with these guys searching our stuff, asking us questions, taking our IDs, trying to intimidate the crap out of us. And so I can see the guys come out of the truck. And that was making me think, too, like, at a tactical advantage, we didn't have that. There's only 6 of us. basically trained infantry Marines. And there's these guys here that are, doing this operation and very skilled, very methodical, very calculated, very precise. And if there's 8 of them, and then all of a sudden every single truck has 4 of these guys, I know that it's not just these guys that are running the perimeter. They could have been 40 or 30 or 40 people.
Yeah.
Could have been a platoon-sized element. And the fact that we have no concealment, we barely have any concealment, because if we were to run and bank off the sides here to go to our flanks, they could just engage us. There's nothing to hide behind.
Yeah.
Vegetation ain't going to stop bullets, But so there's a lot of questions I have too, because it's, obviously if we would have engaged them, then the whole rest of the force behind us would know about it because they'd have heard the commotion.
Yep. How many containers do you estimate were put into the craft? 4,
because I saw 4 trucks.
4 containers.
Yeah. And there could have been more, but at that point where we saw, we could have, because we stumbled onto this thing. We ruined their operation, so to speak, because we weren't allowed to see that.
Let's talk about the craft.
Okay.
How big was it?
300 feet is what I'm estimating, about a football field. And the reason why I say this is because we flew on CH-53 Super Stallions. I'm sure you're familiar with those, your time as a SEAL. They're roughly 100 feet. All right, so from nose to tail, if you lined up 3 of them, it'd fit 3 of them under this craft. Because I can see, especially the operation behind us, you kind of see them off in the distance, so you try to gauge, as a Marine, you're always trying to judge distance, you know what I mean? Because if you're having to engage, but lo and behold, we end up having a surprise right here happen with these guys. But that's how I know it was around 300 feet.
Okay. That's a, and it was circular.
Circular. It's like an octagon because it had like corners on it that was like an octagon shape, but still circular.
Could you see, was it one smooth piece of metal?
No.
Was it panels?
Panels. Yep.
How were they, just describe more. Were there windows? Were there
There
openings?
were not windows, nothing I could see like that. It just had that Vanta black vent-looking things on each corner is all I saw with that. And it had like a octagonal scale pattern that went through it. It honestly reminded me kind of like a design for an F-22 Raptor.
Okay.
I like the top of it kind of looks like that.
Yeah.
That's what it kind of reminded me of because it would transition those colors. So I suspect, I've had people I've talked to about this to say, well, Lockheed Martin has reverse engineer stuff that's circular. Raytheon, they have triangular craft. And he said it might have been Lockheed because Lockheed also made the F-22.
Interesting.
Similar design concept. Now that I think about it, right, because at this time you're not really thinking about it. You're like, I'm more concerned with these guys and who the hell they are. So after we witnessed the last truck going on there, and we're still dealing with that. I got searched already, of course, and I'm just paying attention to what's going on. I'm making sure my guys are good, too. And all of a sudden, the trucks, we never saw them again. They were not on that platform. There was, like, boxes and stuff that were on that platform. And so I'm assuming they either drove off on the other side or disappeared or where they went. I don't know. But all of a sudden, we noticed that this platform raises off the ground by itself. It doesn't make any noise, by the way. It doesn't disturb anything.
Before it started gaining elevation,
yeah.
How high off the ground was this?
The actual craft?
Yes.
I would say probably 20 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, good distance. And the platform rose up, but I would say like the platform was up several feet, right? Probably maybe 5-6 feet, because it was from the distance probably about half an inch.
I mean, I'm envisioning the way you're describing this. I'm envisioning an octagon.
Yep.
Rotating clockwise, with a drop ramp similar to maybe something you would see on the back of a C-130, C-17, but circular.
But circular and separate. There's no cables. There's no...
Okay.
Yeah.
Was the ramp attached to the craft?
No.
So there was just an opening?
There was just an opening. Like the bottom part of the craft, was what I'm assuming, because that's where I saw it lift up and go into. It was like the bottom part. It was like the floor itself was like the platform, and they were just rolled up, right? But at the same time, the top part leveled a little bit and went down to meet with this. And as that happened, you start to see it rise up past the tree line. And it's not like a super fast and just rapid. It's just like kind of slow. As that's going on, the rotation has not changed. The audible hum has not changed. But
it's not like somebody hit the gas and you hear a different
Yeah, it's nothing like that.
Noise. It's
just constant.
Okay.
Each point on that octagonal shape started to illuminate colors. And it was just one color per point. It was red, it was green, it was yellow, and it was blue. Those were the only colors I saw, and it was rotating, right? As soon as it got to the top of the tree line, like cleared the trees, this thing shot off to the left. And to the left was the ocean, by the way. It was just going west.
How far to the left was the ocean?
Probably a good mile and a half, maybe.
That's it?
Yeah. It
So you're right on the coastline.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably, I would say, it could be a mile and a half to 3 miles, I'd estimate, because I mean, that's just estimation. I don't really know, because it took us a little bit when we landed into the near Padang City, because we landed at the airstrip, and then we took like a several-minute flight going from southwest to like northeast part, roughly. So I'd say probably a couple miles to kind of estimate. And like I said, it didn't change pitches of noise or anything, and it just completely shot off. I mean, it's just like a blur that went left. Didn't make a sonic boom like you'd see a fighter jet when you see the pressure that, the way that happens. It didn't disturb any of the trees like rotor wash would do on a helo or a jet flying the map of the earth and leaving exhaust and blowing the, you kind of see Top Gun movies when it cranks up on that. Nothing. There were even coconuts that you could visibly see on these trees. None of them were disturbed.
No shit.
Yeah. And me, I like aircraft. That was my thing. I wanted to be a pilot, but that didn't happen. I wanted to fly the Harrier. And I know about aircraft. I know everything that we've got. I know everything about them. From a little kid, that's all I wanted to do. But obviously, then being infantry was the next best thing. So it wasn't something I've never seen before. Something I know that we didn't have, at least in the conventional wise, on top of the military force that was there. So as that took off, we're all of a sudden ordered to face that slope that we came down. And like I said, it's not very high up. I mean, it's high enough to obscure everything to kind of go down in the valley. And so as we turn around, I'm like, fuck. They're going to do it. I think they were just going to, fucking rip us right there.
Yeah.
And
you're worried they're going to kill you.
Yeah. It's like...
Before we get to that...
Yeah.
When you saw this thing take off, I mean, do you have any estimation of speed? Have you seen anything? I mean, was it faster than anything you've seen before?
Yeah.
Was it a normal speed?
No, it was faster. It was the fastest thing I've ever seen. It was, I would say, probably 4,000 or 5,000 miles an hour. I mean, it was instantaneous. It was just like it left a blur.
Okay.
Like a jet screaming by going as fast as it possibly could, you can still make the shape of it and still lock your eyes onto it as it's going. There's no way in hell you could lock your eyes onto this thing as it's moving. That's how fast it was.
Okay.
And eyesight, something moving, your eyes are naturally going to pick up that motion. And this didn't do that. I mean, it was just like, it just left a very fast blur. And like I said, I've never seen anything like that. The way that it moved, the way that it didn't make any sound, completely, didn't change pitch of the hum or anything like that.
Did it go at an upward angle? Was it a straight line?
It just looked like a straight line from what I couldn't see. You know what I mean? It wasn't like it went up in the sky or anything. It was just like went over the trees and was gone. Okay. So yeah, I mean, knowing aircraft and things like that, it just wasn't something normal. Something completely faster, something doesn't make any sound. I mean, radar signature, I have no idea. But there's theories that maybe the design of it could not reflect radar signals. I mean, I don't know how that go. I'm not, I don't work in that project or anything like that, but it's just something that's very odd to see. Very, very alarming.
Did the lights stay on as it took off?
Yep. But you couldn't even see the blurs of lights even. It was just this black blur that just left.
Damn.
Yeah. I mean, it was creepy. It was fucking creepy to see. Yeah. And, of course, we're like dumbfounded because you've never seen anything like this. And this is like some Hollywood shit, Make the ships from Independence Day look like a joke, with how fast this thing was.